I'm Jada Amina, and you're tuned into Rolling Out.
Hey, Rolling Out family, welcome to Art and Culture. It's your host, Eddie Precise Lamar, and today we're joined by the brilliant curator and cultural force, Jada Amina. She's the curator of this year's Black Harvest Film Festival, a Chicago staple that celebrates the beauty, depth, and evolution of Black storytelling. And we're talking about her curatorial vision, this year's theme, and what audiences can look forward to as the festival continues to shine a light and stories voice and the voices shaping our culture. Let's get into it. Jada, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm excited to talk to you again. How many years has this been where you've been curating the festival?
It's been 3 whole years.
Yes.
No, I'm getting up there. I'm getting up there.
Okay. Well, okay, so as the curator of the Black Harvest Film Festival, what was your guiding vision for this year's program?
This year we didn't have a theme. I've been curating for 3 years. Our first go round, I in having the baton passed to me, I did, carry a theme, which felt like a new thing I was embarking on. And then the second year, our 30th, just was that benchmark, that milestone for us. So we celebrated that. And the theme of 30 was weaved throughout the festival. This go round, I really feel called by this work, and I think the theme is Black Harvest, which is emerging film, alongside repertory film, along classic cinema, groundbreaking, challenging the possibility of and limitations of cinema, which I'm super excited about. So you'll see a lot of cinema that makes you question, is this anything that I've ever seen before? Is this a film? Is it a music video? Just really asking yourself what can film be is sort of the resounding question that I'm asking as I watch these films, and that I'm sure viewers will be asking.
I had a whole nother question, but you just made me want to ask another question. Do you see music video as film?
My question is, why not? I know enough I went to school for this, so I'm into that question.
Hmm.
Personally, I think it can be. I think it can be. I think film as a moving image, as a format, could mean so much. It's like our home videos, film, video selfies, is that film? And those are the questions that the question you just asked is the question I hope folks leave with. I make music and I'm a filmmaker. I just released a music video, so I'm currently just very much so like, yeah, there is something to this is what I'll say. Does the music video tell a story? And that might help us get to that answer, differently. But I don't think that moving image substantiates film just because, a couple of images going real fast
Hmm.
made it move.
So how did you go about selecting the films and filmmakers to bring the Black Harvest to life this year?
Yeah, so every year we open our portal through Film Freeway. If you're a filmmaker or you run film programming, you know about Film Freeway. It's essentially where folks submit their films, and we had about 500 come through this year. Of course, whittling it down to 9 shorts programs, 8 feature films was no easy feat. As I said earlier, a couple of different ways. My thesis is a real thesis, so I'm really just creatively saying the same things in different ways. But being called to the films are super important to me, and I think I'm called by a certain level of thoughtfulness and consideration that the filmmakers, whomever behind these films are offering, not only to me as a viewer, but to what I imagine is this collective viewership, the Black Harvest patrons, but even for those of us who live in Delaware and can't make it to Black Harvest this year, like understanding that when this film lineup gets published, that it's the sort of reflection of our collective consciousness, sort of where we're at as a people, as a society, the term Black community is used, though I sometimes push back on that because what is real, what is community? But I think just as for those of us who are looking to even be represented. That's me leaning into all skin folk ain't kinfolk and that idea. For those of us who know who we are and want to be in communion and fellowship with one another, that is those are the folks I'm considering when we present these films. Because representation is not everything, but it does definitely matter. We know that. So
Yes, we definitely know that. You know, with those thoughts in mind and being as intentional as you are, how do you approach curating a festival that honors Black film traditions while at the same time pushing creative boundaries?
we're always innovating our tradition. Like, I don't use lard, but I'm sure my ancestors was using lard. I use beef tallow. Okay. It's a little different. Down the line, my family became Muslim, so I don't eat pork, right? I think there's but I'ma still make my greens. And I think that's very metaphorical, but it's very grounded in this philosophy that I carry, Sankofa, reach one, teach one, get back and fetch it. This idea that we do pass the tradition by leading by example, and which means to be teachable and to teach. And so those philosophies certainly are held not only by me, but I think the spirit of Black folks across diaspora carry this ancestral memory, and of course live under not extremely disparate such as circumstances, but different circumstances. So we know more, or we know something different, or we take different interests, but it's still grounded in the ancestral principles that have brought us this far. And so those stories, the stories that are being told in this lineup this year, and just the stories being told throughout the Black Harvest filmography for the past 31 years certainly do a good job of balancing and telling and telling the story. I mean, the story is, you can read, I drop this all the time, but when people ask me my favorite book, I'm like, any slave narrative, like read any slave narrative about the ancestors. You will be like, was this written in 1992? Like it feels very, or today, it feels very relevant. And so we're not so much different from our ancestors. We just have new conditions. And so it's not really hard to strike that balance for me, because I see filmmakers pulling from, folklores, there's folklores from Haiti, there's folklores from Bolivia, there's folklores from Chicago, right? These mythologies that are very much so grounded and rooted in the now, but also, are really no different from the stories and experiences of the past.
First off, thank you for saying IET because that's where my people are from. So I
I
appreciate
kind of peeped that. I'm Louisiana Creole, but
it.
my
Okay.
people are back way from IT. So love, sapase for
Love.
your
Like I say,
people.
Nabule, Nabule. So, with with looking at the festival as a whole, how do you see the festival influencing or reflecting the broader cultural conversations happening right now?
Yeah, I mean the filmmakers are that's what's so cool about this. It's like they're people living on the same rock as us. So they're responding to the times. That's why that's going back to your other question. There's so much synchronicity, because it really boils down to, like, if you really listen, if you really witness, we're all kind of saying the same things. As my mama says, and like I always got to quote her on this, every culture has a rice and chicken dish, rice and beans, something like there's like, and it's all good. All the ones I've had, at least. Okay. And so with that, it's not so, there's no need for a theme, because we're all in response to one another, in response to, the paradigms we're living within or under, however you look at it, the administration we're living under. Like, we're all feeling that, in different ways, right? But it ain't that different, because how could it be? We all have a home, like our outside of the apartments and shanties and mansions, like we're all on earth. And that's what's super important. And so these stories tether us not only to the times, they serve as historical record, which is why I'm like, everyone should be creating, whether it's a podcast or content or whatever, just make, because back when we were younger, and if you're a nerd like me still, you study fossils and you're interested in these traces of history and how humans encode memory. Well, film is just encoded memory. It's just literally, if you think about a hard drive or think about film itself, like the analog version, it's just a record. And so this festival serves as a record, and it certainly, I use the term bearing witness a lot because I come from a faith-based tradition. That's what my people instilled in me, and so this idea in a Baptist tradition, so witnessing and testifying are something that certainly are a part of the way I envision space making. And when you're watching someone else's story or watching someone else's, whether it's a true story or a narrative that we're watching, there's something spiritual and sacred about that. I mean, to really just bear witness to someone else's experience, it also affirms you because you got one. And that's why people leave films and change. That's why you hear people reference, oh yeah, that was the movie that really, I mean, because we don't have the films allow us to travel, like they allow us to experience other things outside of our everyday, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Love that. And you've been doing this for the past 3 years, as we discussed at the top. Seeing that you've been doing it for 3 years, over these years, what has been one of the most rewarding parts of curating this festival?
That question immediately takes me to just like the why, like why do you do what you do? And I grew up with I said I'm Louisiana Creole, so my on my paternal side, I'm literally third generation English speaking. Okay. And then on my maternal side, my grandparents were born in the 30s and they picked cotton. So I grew up seeing a lot of just a lot of erasure. There wasn't, I felt like the stories being told about Black people were very incomplete. And I just knew that like my grandparents were super cool and they were alchemists and that they were artists, and they didn't even call themselves that. They were just doing life. And then I grew up seeing Black people do incredible things in the hood. I grew up doing incredible, I mean, just, and I went to school with white people. I'm like, y'all don't get it. Or non-Black people in general. I'm like, y'all do not get this. Why is my culture bastardized? And I didn't always have the language for that because I was a child. Those experiences completely are like speak to why I'm so 10 toes about like, no, this is for us. And I'm really grateful to steward a space. Like it's a festival, but it is a space. It feels like a reunion. There's hugs. There's insiders that like rightfully so, my white colleagues or non-Black colleagues just may not have that entry point to, but we get it. And that's across diaspora. If you ever watch a Nollywood film or a film from IT, or like I'm obsessed with, well, I know that I can trace my lineage there, but just I'm like, our okra dish, or like it's not pralines, but y'all use pecan in this way. Like we're really connected. Like that lifts you up just as a Black person, because we have been strategically divided, and there are so many ploys to divide us that like, I don't know, just being the film space, the theater becomes our common ground, and that's what I'm super excited about. That's why I do what I do, and just across, like, just the way I live is truly to be a champion of the unsung, of oppressed people, and the oppressed people are always the most lit. That's why they're trying to oppress us, and that's my reminder. It's like, look at what we do. I have a very low tolerance for anyone, but especially Black folks not taking up that space because it's our birthright.
What do you hope audiences walk away feeling or thinking after experiencing this year's festival?
I want folks to feel like inspired, but inspired to do their big one. People oftentimes will come up to me, and I just want to get into film. I'm like, well, do it. I know it sounds like I've become, I'm a Gen Z millennial like cusp. But I'm growing out of this. I'm not gonna say I'm growing out of. I'm coming into, because I rep my generation. I like doing the bare minimum. I like Uber Eats. I'm just gonna say that out loud. Yes, I'm gonna order Amazon. No, I'm not going to the store. I like modernity. And what I will say is there is, like, because I come from people who have calloused hands from picking cotton and didn't go to school and all different types of craziness, like, do it. I want folks to, and that's why the Q&As are so special, is because it's like, yeah, now you can ask a question to a director and they're going to tell you, how did they start? One day they just did it. It didn't, what, they didn't wait for the $1 million budget. This film cost $500, but it made it into the festival. And so I'm excited for that, because it truly is a space not only for, tear jerkers and joy and all of the sort of the visceral excitements of watching a film. It's also like, this is about economy. Okay, this is also about liberation of the self. Like, it takes a lot to put yourself out there and produce a thing. People may not support it. That's really what folks are saying when they're like, I really want to do this, but I don't know if I'll be successful. That's what they're really saying. And it's like, hey, see this person doing it, there's a chance. You have to get it done. And so that's huge for me this year. Last year probably would have been like, I just want people to feel firm. Like, this year I want y'all to do something. And like I said, that does not have to be film. Sometimes it's literally just, I have people in my life, I'm like, I just want to post selfies. Well, do it. Do it. Yeah.
People should understand that what we're doing is we're creating this archive, not just for ourselves, but for the world. So I appreciate this work that you're doing. And I appreciate you encouraging people to do
Yeah.
something.
Anything within reason.
Within
you know,
reason, right.
within
Something that's
reason.
added value, definitely. I want to shift gears for a second and just toss this question out here. This may put you on the spot a little bit, but you let me know. Who are your top 5 Black filmmakers?
I am going to say Charles Burnett. I'm gonna say Arthur Jafa. I'm trying to go back because I'm like, I would say Haile Jurema. Back. It's like, what are the films that I grew up watching? The last two, this is so hard. I'm gonna just put the movement on. I love LA Rebellion films. Like, all of the films that came out of UCLA or just around that time. I mean, the LA Rebellion filmmakers span from 68 Watts riots all the way down to the Rodney King uprising. So yeah, I love that they were like, let's make films. I think that just that entire movement, and mind you, I'm cheating because two of the folks I mentioned are of that. But yeah, and then there's some really cool, like, my homies are really cool. Namir Fierce, Cameron Granger, Roy Palace. There's a lot of people that, I know, just being a filmmaker, that are certainly, yeah, luminaries to me. I'm like, there's a new vanguard, always emerging, and I'm excited to be a part of that and be in dialogue with it.
Beautiful. And lastly, what makes a great film?
Ooh. Okay, I haven't said, I'm surprised. I'm just saying this now, but film equals feeling, like, good film, feeling for me. I'm a feeling based person. I'm a musician. I love music. So it's like always like, how does something make me feel? And that feeling, I'll tap into that a little more. It's like, when I forget that I'm watching a film and I'm completely delusional about the characters, where I feel like I would do crimes for the protagonist, I'm like, yeah, this is a good film. Or even if I feel like I want to hurt the protagonist, like, I'm getting upset. There's a film that my partner keeps saying, like, we should watch. I'm like, I can't watch this. I'm like, if I think that lady kills the other lady, and I don't know how my week will go. I'm like, can we wait till the weekend? So those sort of that emotional charge, which is a spiritual, like, all this is a conduit to spirit. That's when I know, like, y'all just conjured something, that you just conjured up some a response from me, and that takes a lot.
So I don't want to end this without touching base, because you've mentioned this twice and I'm extremely curious and I need to have you back on to talk about this. But this is your music. So I want to know what video you just recorded and what project you're working on and the song that you just did. Tell me about it.
everything is really synced up. I literally just recorded this, and folks have been asking like, you're also, I'm a graduate of the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. I work there. I'm a real lion. We don't have a mascot. It's an art school, but there's lions outside the Art Institute. So I'm a lion. With that in mind, super interdisciplinary, and that completely goes into my approach. Working at Gene Siskel Film Center and working for Black Harvest, like my genre, I feel like I'm post jazz and very post neo soul, and like I'm a child of hip hop. I grew up listening to Dilla. Like my parents shopped at Dr. Wax, so
Right.
Dwayne Powell. Like I just grew up just like listening to my parents. You'll love this. My parents met at the Second Warehouse. I got to keep saying the Second Warehouse because my mom is like, I'm not that old. Please don't put me in that camp. I'm like, okay, I will specify when I talk about this publicly. So maybe even post house, just like really, really, yeah. So this new joint is called Twin. It's about sort of finding your people, like genuinely finding your people. There's the it's also very post internet in that, everyone calls each other twin now. I think people in Atlanta, people been saying twin in reference to each other, but it's really like taken off with Twitch. And I say that as like an older Gen Z person. Like I started mocking all of the things that like the younger Gen Z folks would do. I'm like, this is actually really lit. Like I'm gonna start incorporating it. So Twin emerged. The video is out on YouTube and the song is streaming everywhere. It came out Sunday. And it feels so like I just feel like it's really just divine alignment that I ended up dropping. And this wasn't really like ideally I wouldn't have dropped the same week as Black Harvest, but it's giving me that momentum. So, stream Twin, come to Black Harvest. Thank you we can definitely talk about music because I'll probably be saying a lot of the same things, which would be interesting, but in the ways that music is transformative. Film, there's a reason why music did not stop at just music and people attach, film to it to tell that story. So yeah, super potent in it. And thank you for asking.
So, what are the official dates of Black Harvest Film Festival?
Black Harvest is the 7th through the 16th this year. So we open on Friday. And yeah, we end on a Sunday. Wear your Sundays best. November 16th. Start on a Friday. That's potent too. So we're gonna party and then we're gonna end. We're gonna woo-saw with it on November 16th. So I'm excited to see everyone there. We're selling tickets fast too. So it's not one of those where you can really shuffle your feet, like get your tickets, get the things the entire lineup is good. But seriously, if you have like must-sees, just go ahead and buy your ticket. Don't procrastinate. Don't miss out.
Indeed, indeed. Jada, I am in awe of the work that you have done over the past 3 years. It's been really a blessing, and it's been great to see how you've grown and just kind of watch you transition through these phases, right? It's amazing. So thank you. Thank you. It's been a privilege. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us today on Art and Culture.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Yes.
Eddie.
Of course, of course. Again, thank you for joining us and for curating such a powerful and intentional experience through this year's Black Harvest Film Festival. Your vision continues to uplift and expand the conversation around Black creativity and storytelling. Rolling Out family, make sure you say hello when I see you at the Black Harvest Film Festival. And as I always say, stay focused, positive, and productive. Peace.